There were royal jewels so dazzling even Queen Elizabeth herself refused to wear them. Not because they lacked beauty, but because some jewels speak too loudly. To her, elegance was never about excess. It was about meaning, memory, and control. A necklace could carry sorrow, a tiara could feel too bold, and a gift, no matter how priceless, could say the wrong thing. Behind the locked doors of the royal vaults lie treasures the Queen chose not to show, each one loaded with a story, a symbol, or a silence. So what was she really rejecting? The jewel or the message behind it? What hidden emotions shaped her choices year after year? And which 7 royal pieces did she quietly turn her back on, for good? The Japanese diamond pearl choker might have shimmered with elegance, but to Queen Elizabeth, it never truly belonged. Crafted by Garrard in the 1970s, this bold piece was made from pearls gifted by the Japanese government, a diplomatic gesture wrapped in grace. Its centerpiece was a striking design, 4 tight strands of lustrous pearls, secured with a large diamond-encrusted clasp, matching bracelet included. And yet, despite its brilliance, the Queen wore it only on a handful of occasions. Why? It came down to comfort and style. While Elizabeth adored her classic single strands or triple rows, this choker cut high at the neck, shortening her natural silhouette. It clashed with her high-collared gowns and interrupted the clean lines she preferred in formal portraits. But some suggest it wasn't just fashion. After Princess Diana famously wore a royal emerald choker as a headpiece, breaking tradition, whispers around the palace hinted the Queen grew colder toward chokers altogether. The Japanese suite faded into the background, rarely seen again. Instead, she stayed loyal to her trusted pearls, simple, timeless, and modest. Today, however, this very choker lives on through Princess Catherine, who has worn it with ease and quiet confidence. As for the next jewel, its rejection was more emotional than aesthetic. The Kent Amethyst Parure was one of the most majestic sets in the royal vault, but also one of the most avoided. With its deep violet gemstones, framed in rich yellow gold and diamond accents, this suite had all the markings of a royal masterpiece. It included a powerful necklace, earrings, 3 brooches, and even a pair of hair combs. Yet despite its grandeur, the Queen rarely wore it and never embraced it as part of her signature style. Historically, the set traced back to the Duchess of Kent, mother of Queen Victoria, who wore it in lavish portraits during the mid-1800s. Later, it passed through Queen Alexandra and the Queen Mother, before landing in Elizabeth's hands in 1952. She wore the full suite publicly just once, during a state visit to Portugal in 1984. Other than that, it made only quiet appearances, like in the US in 1991 or on her 40th accession anniversary. So why the distance? To Elizabeth, amethyst wasn't just purple. It was symbolic of mourning, of loss, of things best left unspoken. Its somber tone didn't align with the calm strength she projected, especially during the early years of her reign. Interestingly, she did keep one piece close, a simple brooch without pendants, worn occasionally with softer outfits. Her hesitation with this jewel ran deeper than fashion. It was about what the colour carried with it. Let's move on to a jewel even older and far more theatrical. One once worn by an empress. The Empress Maria Feodorovna's sapphire choker is one of the most dramatic and historic pieces ever to enter the British royal vaults. Made of 4 rows of perfectly matched pearls, held together by 20 diamond bars, and crowned with an angular sapphire and diamond clasp, it was every inch a royal statement. But Queen Elizabeth II wore it only once, and never again. The jewel's journey began in Imperial Russia, where it belonged to Empress Maria Feodorovna, mother of the last Tsar. Photographs from the 1890s show her wearing it beside her sisters at the height of Russian aristocracy. After the revolution, it became one of the few treasures she managed to escape with. Following her death in 1928, Queen Mary acquired it for £6,000, wearing it in select portraits during the 1930s. When the choker passed to Elizabeth, its fate changed. She found chokers too rigid, too formal, and too old world for her modern sensibility. The sheer weight and structure of the piece made it feel more like armour than ornament, and perhaps, as stories suggest, its imperial past felt distant, almost foreign, to a queen who shaped her reign through subtlety, not spectacle. In time, the choker found a new admirer, Princess Anne, who embraced its theatrical flair with confidence. The next tiara on this list may have sparkled with blue fire, but even that wasn't enough to win the Queen's heart. The 5 aquamarine tiara was breathtaking at first glance. Radiant blue stones set in a design that seemed to shimmer like water. Its structure featured 5 large oval aquamarines, each encased in a frame of delicate diamond bows and ribbons. It looked like it belonged in a fairy tale, but in Queen Elizabeth's world, not all fairy tales fit the crown. No one really knows who commissioned this piece or how it made its way into the royal vaults. What is clear is that it lacked one crucial element the Queen valued most: heritage. Unlike her beloved Brazilian aquamarine tiara, which had deep diplomatic meaning, this piece felt disconnected. It had no clear origin, no sentimental lineage, no official debut with royal fanfare. The Queen wore it only once, during a state banquet in Yellowknife, Canada, in 1970. Then it vanished from the public eye, almost like it had never existed. To Elizabeth, it may have seemed too theatrical, too modern, or simply too anonymous. She preferred jewels that carried the weight of history, not just sparkle for the sake of sparkle. Decades later, the tiara resurfaced on Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, and later Queen Camilla, who brought it back into circulation. But the jewel that follows didn't vanish. It lingered in plain sight, yet was never truly embraced. The Queen Victoria's wheat ear brooches were unlike anything else in the royal collection. 6 sparkling stalks of diamond-encrusted wheat, arranged in 3 mirrored pairs, bold, heavy, and unmistakably symbolic. They were crafted not for subtlety, but for grandeur, and that's exactly why Queen Elizabeth almost never wore them. Commissioned in 1830 by King William IV for Queen Adelaide, these brooches were meant to celebrate abundance, fertility, and royal prosperity. They passed to Queen Victoria, who wore them to weddings and grand occasions, then on to the Queen Mother, who styled them with confidence, even weaving them into her hair. But when they reached Elizabeth, their oversized brilliance didn't fit the image she'd carefully built. She valued precision, restraint, and balance, not overwhelming sparkle. The brooches were too large for the neat silhouettes she favoured and too elaborate for her diplomatic minimalism. She did experiment once, integrating them into a tiara-like design for a state portrait, but it never became a pattern. They remained locked away for most of her reign, emerging only briefly in 2018, when she loaned 3 of them to Princess Eugenie for her wedding. An act that perhaps reflected history, but not personal preference. The next jewel, however, wasn't too big or too bold. It was simply too small to matter. The Queen's pair, drop diamond earrings, should have been a timeless staple, delicate, elegant, and effortlessly royal. They featured 2 pear-shaped diamonds, suspended from smaller round stones, creating a soft movement with every turn of the head. But unlike her more famous coronation earrings, this pair remained almost invisible throughout Queen Elizabeth's reign. First seen on the Queen in 1968 at the premiere of Lord Mountbatten, A Man for the Century, they sparkled briefly before vanishing into obscurity. Some say they were simply too modest, lacking the impact needed for state occasions or global appearances. Others believe the Queen's decision to lend them to Princess Diana in the 1980s played a role in their quiet retirement. Diana wore them with unmistakable flair, once paired with the Spencer tiara and a polka dot Catherine Walker gown, and again, just days later, with a different regal look. Her charisma transformed them from soft and subtle to undeniably iconic. After those appearances, the Queen never wore them again. Whether out of respect, detachment, or personal sentiment, the earrings disappeared from public view, sealed away like a memory. Yet the final jewel in this list wasn't forgotten at all. It was bold, complex, and loud, and that's exactly why the Queen set it aside. The Queen Mother Cartier bracelet bandeau was unlike any other headpiece in the royal archive. It wasn't born a tiara. It was built from 5 individual Cartier diamond bracelets, designed in the roaring 1920s, full of Art Deco flair and unrestrained glamour. The Queen Mother adored it. She wore it as a choker-style bandeau, stacking the bracelets across her forehead like a crown of light. But when the set passed to Queen Elizabeth in the 1970s, its reign abruptly ended. She was never a fan of layered jewellery, especially not bracelets. Unlike her mother, who embraced theatricality, Elizabeth preferred clarity, linearity, and the quiet symbolism of minimalist elegance. She wore one or two of the bracelets occasionally on her wrist, but the bandeau configuration, once a showstopper, was left behind. Its boldness didn't align with her carefully curated image of continuity and quiet strength. In Elizabeth's world, every jewel had a place, and this one belonged to a different era and a different kind of queen. Decades later, the full bracelet set returned to the spotlight on Queen Camilla, who revived its dazzle at the Shakespeare celebration in 2024, breathing new life into a jewel Elizabeth had long set aside. Not every crown sparkles for every queen, and sometimes refusing a jewel says more than wearing one ever could. She didn't need every jewel to shine, because her grace was her true crown. In a world where excess was expected, Queen Elizabeth chose meaning, and through each piece she declined, she revealed not just her taste, but her legacy. So, now we turn to you. Which of these royal jewels would you have worn, and which would you have left behind? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories behind the sparkle.